Yeah.
Do you have any shows that come to mind from? Because I have a couple that we've done together, but I want to hear from you first.
Oh, I thought you meant my podcast or this podcast. So I can say no, I have not listened. But as
Oh, wow.
far as doing shows, it's not
Oh,
a you thing. It's a me thing. It's not a you thing. It's a me thing. It's not. I just don't listen to podcasts. It's not a
you're right.
shot at anybody. There's a lot of great podcasts out there. I've heard people talk about them, but I can't. I don't. I
There's
can't
only
listen to
so
people
much
talk.
time in the day.
There is, and it's not, again, it's not a shot, but your podcast, I didn't know we were gonna go right into it.
We're here. We're in it.
We're in it. Okay,
What's
you
the
go
worst
right
show
into
you've
it.
ever done?
Well, there was this one time I was in a local, like a contest, local contest, right? And it was some of the people in the contest were like juicing the audience. You know what I mean? Like bringing people in to make the contest go better. I think you know what contest I'm talking about. And so I'm in this contest, and I basically should win, but I should win in an embarrassing way because I've been doing comedy like 7 years longer than like everybody else that was there. Like most of the people that were there were kind of like really like new and stuff. And the one kid, his dad was like a podcaster in town, just loading the audience. All right, and like, and so I felt like I was gonna like lose, you know what I mean? Because this guy I should beat, I'm probably gonna lose to, because like his dad is just like, everybody come in, oh, it's his third time on stage, everybody come watch him. And so they're all there and they're all clapping for him, and I was like sure I was gonna go down. And I remember that like potentially being the worst show. And then I won, but I like barely won. So it was like when you win, but you know, you should have won by more. Like in sports, did you play sports?
You know, it's funny. I also was in a contest once.
Mm-hmm.
When I was living in Pittsburgh, I did a contest that I ended up coming in second in, and I thought I was gonna win, but the guy
second.
the guy that
What do
won,
you get? What do you get for second? A Dave and Buster's coupon.
you got an MC weekend, and they took 50% off your tab. So that was nice. But the guy that won, actually, when I was, you know, a little bummed. I was happy to, you know, come in second, but I was like, you know, why didn't I win? And the manager said, well, have you seen the guy that won? Obviously, he needs it more. You know, like he said, look how he's dressed, look how he's behaving. I've never seen a person eat like that before. He needs it. I'm trying to think who won that year.
Well, I'm trying to remember who came in second. I remember it being a college kid with clean shoes, with like just the cleanest shoes you've ever. I think they were Keds. Just a clean pair of a clean pair of Keds and a large flannel shirt, and just a jovial, you know, I believe he was still a sophomore in high school, maybe even. He was young. This guy was young.
Do you know what? I think we might have been in the same contest.
I'm not sure. Because I remember I lost, the woman I lost to looked like Ellen.
Well, you won. You won.
Wait a second. You didn't have a beard back then.
I did. It was thinner.
It was thinner. Oh, okay.
The beard was the only thing thin about me at the time.
Yeah. But hey, that could have been you. I remember thinking it was the Al from the Tipsy Pop commercials, but it might have been you.
I think it was me, Andy. When we met in Pittsburgh, you had already pretty much written off doing any comedy shows that you didn't think you're going to have a good time on. And
yes, which was 98% of.
You were a hard guy to book.
I was.
It's like, can you do this? And you're like,
It's a Diet Coke. I don't drink it in the morning.
Okay. But we did a couple shows together that were pretty bad. But what do you think the worst?
Honestly,
when you started in New York and in Jersey, like what was like?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean,
I don't know what was worse though. Like a disinterested bar is always the worst. One time in Nutley, New Jersey, which I don't know if you've traveled to Nutley yet. It's right next to the stadium out there in East Rutherford. I know you just hang out in Queens and go to bodegas and eat ham sandwiches or whatever the hell you do. But if you go to Jersey, you know, where the real people are at, there's a town called Nutley, and it's kind of like a wealthy city. And I was booked on a Thanksgiving show, right? And I get to the bar and there's no stage, right? Which is always great for a flat level bar. The bar is packed. And they're like, okay, in like 15 minutes, we're going to cut the music and we're going to start the show. And I'm like going like third or whatever. And when they cut the music, everyone was so upset because we realized it was not only a Thanksgiving show, but everyone was like 20, maybe. They were all just back from college. Like it was like a whole, 110 people who hadn't seen each other in roughly 3.5 months after graduating high school. And we stopped their party just like completely dead, right? And so we do the show, and the first comic, the host bombs, the second comic bombs, third comic bombs. And by the time I get up there at the end of like the third comic or the second comic, whatever it was, they actually started playing music again in the back. Like they gave up on the show in the back of the room, and then like slowly they were turning on the speakers towards the front of the room to when you were to where you were only performing to the 8 people who had to be close to you. And like even then they were pushed all the way away. And I remember that's like where I learned to just perform to one table that likes you, because if you actually look around, you'll kill yourself. Like if you actually look around and see 150 people that hate it, like that was like an important lesson that then I took to every show we did in Pittsburgh.
Which is, don't look at the audience.
Yeah, don't look at the audience. Don't look at the mechanic who's just furious that his wife got a Groupon, because he's there, and if you look at him, it's just going to drain you. I always look at them too.
We performed to so many people that didn't want to be performed for.
It's harder to think of good shows.
It is. When people go, "What are your worst shows?" I go, "Well, what week are we?"
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like when. Remember we did that show in like Clarion together? It was a Rich Carucci gig. And
oh, okay. Yeah, I know the gig.
And I just remember, first of all, like if you did any show in Pittsburgh, that
was an hour and a half north.
Yeah, there was only one place to perform in Pittsburgh that was worth performing in, and then there were open mics and stuff and bar shows. But like if you did a show outside of Pittsburgh, it wasn't like 20 minutes away. It was always like 2 or 3 hours away. And in February too, we drove out there. You, me, and Matt Wolfhard.
Yeah, because it was a Valentine's Day gig every year.
Yeah, and I remember the whole experience. It was fun, but like driving through Cook's Forest in February to go make like maybe $50, thinking like in roads that have never been plowed. And
no, that was a terrible drive. The year before, I didn't go. The year before, I was supposed to go with another comic, and I picked them up from their day job, like at the Bonefish Grill, and we're sitting there, and it's like the Bonefish Grill on 88 in Pittsburgh or whatever that road is, and it's just snowing, like, and I'm just like, no, we're calling them and saying no, like it's not. I'm not risking my life to go do this spot, like it's just not happening. I guess I see now how difficult I was. But like I honestly like couldn't do it. And then the one dude who lived closest just did like an hour and a half show. Chuck Miganelli. Who else could do that?
Right.
Probably on their own. But yeah, no, like there were so many bad shows. Like I remember one show that was good, and after the show, it was stirring because this couple came up to me and they were like, "Look, it was in West Virginia. Surprise. Look, we really enjoyed your show. We like how you didn't get too political. We're two proud parents and neo-Nazis." And then like they saw the look on my face and I was like, what? And they were like, well, not neo-Nazis, but you know what we mean. I'm like, okay.
Wait,
not neo-Nazis, but you know what? Like, I don't know what that means at all. That doesn't mean anything.
You know how you slip and sometimes say neo-Nazi when you don't mean to say neo-Nazi? Wait,
you're gross drinking this.
Did they like want to hang out with you?
No, they were just doing that awkward talking for like 3 minutes longer than it's appropriate to after a show.
Yeah.
There should be a sign.
Yeah.
That says 3 minutes is it.
Right.
And here's the thing, like when you're not famous, that's when people will talk to you the most, because there's no compass of we should leave them alone.
Right.
So when no one's ever seen you on TV before and they didn't know your name 45 minutes ago and now you're at the bar, they have full rights to you. There's no level of like oh, should we go up to him? Is it okay? There's like, yeah, go up to him. Trying to give him meth. You know what I mean? Like that was every freaking show we did in like Martins Ferry, Ohio. Ugh. Sorry, I don't want to burn that room for us. But like there was some rough. I remember I did that show in Martins Ferry, Ohio, right after Trump won, and they were all wearing like red hats. Like 35 out of 100. I'm not even exaggerating. Maybe 35 out of 150 people were wearing red hats, just fucking Trump hats, which is fine. But 35 out of 100 is alarming of anything. You know what I mean? You don't want to see 30. 35 of anything is a little bit weird at a show, right? Especially 150 people. And so the one dude had a swimmer's jacket, like from high school, that like if you're on the swim team, but it just said Trump 45 on it. And like he had won 3 days before. I was like, man, did you just get that done? And it was such a tough show, not because of anything like I had said, but they were just fighting each other. There was like 2 different fist fights that had to be stopped during the show. I literally had to stop and like wait because like everyone's running around and like glasses breaking and like tables are fucking getting shook and stuff like that, which is obviously making people leave and talk more because a fight is way more interesting than a comic you've never heard of. And then the worst part is it was in a hotel and they were all staying there for a college football game like the next day. So there was nowhere to go. Like I had to fake like I wasn't staying there. That's the worst part about doing those shitty gigs in those hotels is that they know that all you can do is go to the bar or the restaurant at the hotel. They know that that's your only option, especially when you're broke. Yeah. That's it. You're going to where the free food voucher is, and you're gonna go stay at the. So then the animals have nowhere to get away from you. And again, if they were actually fans that like adored me, I would love them. But they're literally just people that were at the show that are bored.
Yeah, and it's
like you know, there's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference, and it's so awkward. Like when you're seeing people. 2 questions. One, did you ever get this where like there's like you go to the show, there's like a buffet style dinner, and they're like,
oh yeah,
if you want to get a plate and eat before the show, and it's always like, all right, I can't possibly get in line with these people. Like I can't get in line and put mashed potatoes on a plate and then go up and perform.
Oh, that I did it every time. Every time. And I would even say that because you know how they'd always bring you up like, and you might recognize him from something they're not going to recognize you from, like from a radio station you don't get in this county, like whatever they're going to say. And I would say like you probably saw me eating, like because I was standing by the table because I'm not going to get burnt by letting all 300 people eat and they just have like the dried chicken left over, like hot dog buns. So like here, make a concoction out of this. No, I go up right away. A lot of places served you in the back, though.
Yeah, I always asked if I could get my food either to go or.
Oh, you asked
after. I would say,
I honestly, if you ask late, you can get like a lot of leftovers. So I would like to ask, like when I was leaving, if I could get more, which is a trick I'd learned from other comics that were barely surviving. Was that you could get a week's worth of food from these fire hall shows if you just ask at the end, like, can I fill a few trays? And then they'll give you a couple, or then they'll let you know where the trays are, and then it's just like, poof, bam. Yeah. There's a month of food, 2 in the freezer, 3 in the fridge, eating like a king, like really good lasagna for a month. But when the food sucked, you'd still do it too, and then you do it more because there's more left over. Putting chicken wings into bags and shit.
There was never a show where I was like, that food's too bad to eat. Like I was always like, well.
It was always good though, for the most part.
Because we do these shows and like
when a fire hall in Clarion tried to serve fish, it was an issue. But like other than that, like it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was usually like fried chicken and rigatoni and.
I was gonna say, when wasn't there rigatoni? Rigatoni was the 100%. If you're doing a fire hall in the Midwest, there's going to be rigatoni. Like the other things that might be, maybe they have pizza. Maybe they'll have beer on tap, but they're definitely having rigatoni. It's like a staple of the fire hall shows. God. And also those benefits of like, so-and-so has cancer benefits. Those are always, the buffets are always amazing.
What do you think the worst like setup for a show? Like what, like benefit for someone dying, or like, what's the worst like?
I just thought of one.
Gig. What is it?
All right, and this was, I don't want to say, I don't want to get in specifics here. I was at this club that never gave me weekends, so I should give specifics. Fuck them, but I won't. I was at this club that never gave me weekends, but they're like, hey, not close to. It was like southeast. It was like I was always trying to put together a run, and they were always cock blocking. And then I'm like in the area, and they're like, nah, I'm not gonna give you a weekend, but hey, if you want to close out this show we're having on like a Wednesday, you know what I mean, before the weekend starts, we'll throw you like, I don't know, it was something sad like $75, you know what I mean? Like, something crazy. And I was like, sure. And so I'm doing the show, and no, I'm not doing the show. I'm way ahead of myself. I go to the club to find out it's a cancer benefit, and it's like, oh, okay, it's a cancer benefit for a kid who's 13. It's like, all right, a lot sadder. You know what I mean? Like off the bat, it's like, wow, all right, punch in the gut. That's a great way for everyone to walk in, see a picture of a sick kid, ready to laugh. It was really not a good situation. And so I'm like, this is going to suck. And then they tell us it's going to be all his 13-year-old friends and their parents. So the kids are going to be up front and the parents are going to be in the back. And it was like a slow reveal of all this information. You know what I mean? As I'm getting there, I'm like, holy shit. And in fairness, they may have told me more about it and I didn't listen. That's how it all unfolded to my eyes. You know what I mean? It's like literally peeling the curtain and seeing like a half-filled house at a club that's, kids and their parents, 13-year-old kids who are, by the way, really funny, and they think everything's funny. And then their parents who are going to be a nightmare. And again, down south, where people talk a little bit like a draw. I can't even do the voice. It was a My Cousin Vinny situation. You know what I mean? Like I was out of water. And so we do the show, or we go to do the show, and as the show is starting, they bring out this laptop, and they're like, I don't remember the kid's name, and it sucks that I don't remember his name. And they're like, little Jeremy couldn't make it today because he's too sick. He was supposed to be there because he's too sick. He's in the hospital, but we're going to Skype him in. And they open up a laptop and put it at the front of the stage. Like the mic's here, 5 feet in front of me, laptop, cancer kid. Fucking perform.
And how did it go?
It was super awkward. It went okay. One of the comics that went before me dropped an F-bomb, which is hysterical because that was the big rule, right? But I didn't swear. I closed out the show. I don't know. Maybe I did like 15 minutes. I don't even know if I closed with my feet. I don't even know. But I did like a little chunk at the end. And it was just to do your jokes and then look down at this kid that's like, he had like tubes and stuff. And like the whole time I just kept thinking like, what are his parents thinking?
Right.
Like, what are they like? Do they think this is like, is this going to be a great night? And it did raise money for him and all that stuff, but it was like, and I hope the kid's all right. I never really followed up on it. Oh man, this story really is terrible if he's not okay. I hope that kid's all right. I really do. And he was laughing in his, he enjoyed the show. The parents were terrible because, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't really be funny because they're in front of 13-year-olds, and one of them is in a hospital bed. So you're just trying to, like, be goofy, essentially. It was like being like it was like vamping being a party clown.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to do a couple shows like that where I didn't know what to do because they're, like, high school age. And then it's you literally just mention, like One Dimension or something. You know what I mean? You just mention their shit, and they love it.
One Dimension?
Yeah. Well, I'm going back. It's been years since I was in front of 16-year-olds.
Are you talking about the band One Direction?
See? That's how bad. That's, you got to be on top of things better than I am right now. I'm never going to do shows for 16-year-olds again, so I don't need to know. But yeah, exactly. See, it would have got a laugh. If I said One Dimension in front of a bunch of 16-year-olds, forget it. I'm already on a roll.
Wow. I did a show once. It was a benefit. I don't even know if I could say this. It sounds horrible, but I'm not saying
worse than the one I just said.
I did a benefit for a guy who like got jumped, and was like severely injured. It was horrible. He was assaulted and he was really injured and suffered some
really injured.
It was really injured, and he suffered some very extreme, injuries and was disabled because of it. And they did a benefit for him, and he was at the show, and he wasn't all there.
Did they say, hey guys, no assault jokes?
Well, it was just awkward because he wanted to meet all of the comedians. And when I had heard we're doing a show for a guy that got, he got attacked or whatever, assaulted, and we're raising money for some of his hospital bills or legal fees. I was like, okay, his family and friends. And then when you pull up and you get there and then you're inside and then you meet him and he comes out looking the way he does, you're like, oh my, it's almost an audible gasp where you're like, oh, thank you for having us.
Yo, why is that appropriate, dude? I literally I know a comic actually, is he in New York? I think he's in New York now. He might be back in Canada, who did a funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit happens. People are so dumb that they just think that it'll lighten the mood. When people have roasts for people who aren't ready for the roast,
mm-hmm.
and they're it'll be like Gary's 50th birthday party, and then they're like, and then 6 comics no one has ever heard of come out and just rip apart a dude in his living room.
Right.
And people are like, I can't believe it went bad. It's like, what the fuck did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah, you gave
you went to a guy's house, you made fun of his job and his wife on his birthday.
Yeah, and the guy never knows.
No, I've never done one. I was going to. I didn't. I'm not trying to be fucking oh me. I knew I wouldn't do something like that. I would totally do something like that if they have paid me. But I was going to, and it was canceled. And it was canceled because he got wind of what it was, and he was like, no. It's always somebody's wife that doesn't have a sense of humor. That's like, that'll be fun.
Right.
We'll invite a comedian, and it's like I that would be a real nightmare. Oh, one time I almost got my ass kicked, really, really bad. I was gonna get jumped. It has a bit of a backstory. It was I don't really give a shit at all. So all names on this one. It was in Montauk, New York, where I used to work as a bouncer at certain nightclubs, not nightclubs, they're like bar nightclub / things. And there was this one I never worked at. Not because I didn't want to, I just didn't ever work there, but I didn't know the bouncers that worked there. The only reason I knew them is because they tried to get into the place I worked at with fake $100 bills. And so, didn't have the best rapport with them because we kind of would get into it over that.
Yeah.
And so they schedule, by the way, I was doing comedy almost a few times a summer as I'm doing that job. So I'd be like a doorman that then did comedy. So the whole town would know me as a doorman. And then they'd see me doing stand-up. They'd be like, what the fuck? And then the next week I'm a doorman again. They're like, wow, what the hell is your deal?
Right.
What do you do here? It's like, you were funny, but you threw out Jimmy. So we don't you know what I mean? It was weird to be the bouncer that did comedy. But anyway, so I'm doing this show and all these bouncers don't like me. And I did a joke that was in really poor taste. I did a bad joke, a bad take, basically, of I was like, George Zimmerman, a lot of people call him a coward, but I know a lot of people that are so racist they won't even follow a black guy on Twitter. This is a long time ago. And I mean, this is very topical when it happened. So whenever George Zimmerman happened is when I said that joke. Very fresh, very bad thing to say. By the way, the bouncers that I knew that didn't like me, all black. So the joke goes terrible. It goes so bad that the guy in the back, this is actually the worst one. I'm glad you brought this out of me. There's a dude in the back that owned a pancake house, and he started giving me shit, and then I just started shitting on his pancake house and telling everyone to go to the other pancake place. You know what I mean? It got that crazy where I'm just yelling into the crowd, fuck your pancakes, your syrup isn't as good as Bill's syrup, or whatever the other place was. And this is all these Montauk locals, right? And then I start, just shitting on fishing, everything that, I kind of try to, how you subconsciously do the Bill Burr thing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's if I'm going to go down, I'm going to make you all hate me. type thing. And it was also my last show in New York before I moved to Pittsburgh for 4 years. So I really didn't care. So I get off stage after not taking the bombing graciously at all. Like really just MFing anybody that had anything to say, yelling at quiet tables that were just trying to get through dinner and not look at me and still getting mad at them. Like a really bad episode. And I get off stage and the MC, everything comes around. The MC, Rich Carucci, goes to me. He's like, hey, man, you got to get out of here. And I was like, I know, right? That was really bad. And he's like, nah, they're going to jump you. You have to get out. Like you have to leave and go back to the hotel and don't leave the hotel. And like, he said that to me. And as he said that, I just had that like spidey sense. I had that like spidey sense feeling of like, this isn't good. And I like fucking just basically ran. He tells me that. Like I literally finished my set. I walk off. He gets the next guy on. I'm waiting for him kind of like in the wings of this bar setup, you know what I mean? But it's away from everyone and it's near an exit. And he's like, just go. And I ran and I had to get paid later that night at my hotel room for the show instead of waiting for the end. And yeah, that was probably the scariest because they really wanted to beat me up. And it really wasn't because of the joke. Like they just wanted to find a reason to beat me up. And then once one of them said that was racist, everybody else was like, all right, let's fucking, is that, you know, like they were looking for, it was really because I called them out on paying with fake hundreds at the bar I worked at. But, and the joke was bad. That's an embarrassingly bad joke. All right. But I wanted to be topical. Thought maybe I could be a Daily Show writer.
Oh my God. That's insane. I mean,
yeah, that was a bad one. Montauk, New York, where people don't fuck around. Like it's not the Hamptons. It's in the Hamptons, but it's not. It's become more the Hamptons recently, but it's not. It's like gruff fishermen mixed with really rich people. And guess who goes to bar comedy shows at the Sloppy Tuna? Gruff fishermen. That's rich people. All right, so
a lot of hedge fund managers there.
No, I did do comedy in front of Wade Boggs though one time in Montauk. Yeah, I think he liked it. I don't know. He didn't talk to me.
Why? Why did you do that? Was he just there? Or did he?
Why did I do that? I was booked there, and he was in the audience.
But he was just hanging.
You never seen somebody in the audience? You're like, why did you do that? Like, what do you mean? I don't know. He was at the.
I didn't know if it was like a private thing or.
No, it was like a bar show in Montauk somewhere. I don't think it was the same place. It was somewhere out there, and someone's like, "You see that crazy fucking hair?" And he was wearing like a shirt that looked like a shirt like a guy that worked in a garage would wear with like a name tag on it and stuff.
Right.
But it was like fashionable looking. And I didn't believe them. I was just like, that's just the hair. It looks like Disco Stew from The Simpsons. You know what I mean? It's just the Wade Boggs hair. It's not him. Right. After the show, he walked by, totally Wade Boggs.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. It was cool to have a good set in front of a Hall of Fame baseball player. Although, I don't know, he might not have liked it. The crowd did, but he was probably like, this guy's stupid.
Andy, I hear you're starting a podcast. When does it come out? What is it?
I am. I already did a pilot episode for it where like I had a sponsor read, but like that all didn't. I don't think it's going to work out. So it's going to be available on all podcast services. It's going to be called Catnip and Xanax, I think. That's what the name is supposed to change to, but it hasn't changed over on all the platforms yet. And it's going to be like twice a week, me doing a podcast with my LA comedian friends, and sometimes just like your podcast, I'll have good guests. Sometimes we get to dip into the friend pool a little bit. You know what I mean? But look at the dogs playing in my backyard. Can you see them?
That's nice.
Is it all just sunlight?
Yep, just sunlight in your iron bars. Oh, I see. Wild dogs?
No, they're not wild dogs. They're domesticated. It's a little baby Great Dane. She's only 6 months, and a 10-year-old Rottweiler.
Well, that shouldn't end poorly.
I live in a house with 5 comedians.
Well, Andy, I'm sure you have a lot of errands to run. This was great. Thanks. This
was fun.
And I look forward to listening to Catnip and Xanax once you get all the pieces moved around.
Once we get it. Once you circle the wagons,
right,
and really get everything, dot all our I's and cross all the lowercase T's, we'll do it.
Right. Well, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Collin, and I appreciate you having me on.